In this video, we want to talk about how you can strengthen something called your critical faculty so you can avoid being manipulated and controlled.
Right. Now realize we are hypnotists and we're coming at this from a hypnosis perspective. But remember that pretty well everything is hypnosis, really. And that's why this is so important for you to understand.
All right.
What is the critical faculty anyway?
What is the critical faculty anyway? Well, let's start out by saying that there is no such thing as an actual critical faculty.
Yeah.
We think of it as part of your brain, but you can't
part of your
go
mind,
to a
really.
surgeon and say, hey, can you cut out my critical faculty? It's a model, right? Now, what does that mean? It's a
Well, it's
model.
a useful model. It's a way of understanding things and simplifying things. And it's not called the critical factor. It is the critical faculty. So if you hear people calling it critical factor, you might want to say, Dick.
We're only
Okay.
kidding, but
we're not.
yeah, no, we're not. All right, so the critical faculty is like a firewall or a bouncer that stops someone from entering a nightclub without permission.
Like a firewall on a computer or a doorman at a bar, a nightclub, who's deciding who's able to go into the club. I guess he lets anybody
and the
leave.
people who want to get in are like the ideas or the suggestions.
Information,
or
yeah.
the information. And the bouncer or the doorman is basically acting like a filter. You can get in, yep, you're safe, you're okay, or no, you go away, right?
Right. Now, this gives the conscious mind an opportunity to evaluate or possibly reject any message coming in. So we don't want to just be open to suggestion all the time. So let's talk about how the critical faculty is bypassed to increase your awareness.
Right, and this applies to hypnosis and to everyday life because we think about in hypnosis, if you bypass someone's critical faculty for their good, to give them useful suggestions to improve, or in an entertainment setting, as Mike's often done, that will be useful. But the same thing's happening in everyday life, and when certain things are true, you're more likely to have suggestions, information, ideas slip through and be accepted into your brain as
into your unconscious
valid.
mind. Yeah, and strong emotions will cause the doorman to be distracted, and he will let the wrong people into the nightclub. This fits with what our friend Freddie Jacquin says, create an emotion, give a suggestion. Well, strong emotion, even if they're good emotions, you fall crazy in love with somebody, the critical faculty is distracted, and it's often possible to get things into the unconscious.
And that's where the line comes from, that emotions temporarily make you stupider, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the solution to emotions creating a permeability of that critical faculty?
The first thing has got to be an awareness, Chris. You have to become aware when you are experiencing strong emotions. And this is going to take some practice. Recognize that when you're under a very strong emotional response, your critical faculty is largely offline.
Right. So simply by training yourself to become aware of those emotional moments, you're more likely to be able to take a step back, perhaps dissociate from it, regain your faculties, really, and stop the bad stuff from happening.
Right. And then there's shock, novelty, even a surprise of a magic trick. There's suddenly a tiger in the room.
Right.
All of these things cause a PGO spike, the pons geniculate body, the occiput in the brain.
Like an electrical pulse through your brain.
And this is how an instant hypnosis induction works. And that's another topic. But the bottom line is a PGO spike, that kind of surprise, also takes the critical faculty offline very, very quickly. Temporarily.
Yeah. And in fact, so the shock, the novelty, or the surprise, this happens in normal life, right? So it happens in hypnosis on purpose, like you said, with instant inductions, which we aren't talking about. But let's say you see a car accident, or you get scared by a loud bang noise. That's happened to all of us over our lives. Or even, like you said, find out that you just won the lottery. I mean, that's a great surprise.
Shock.
But bam, that will take you offline temporarily.
So when these huge shocks happen, whether they're good or bad, slow down and take a breath and take some time to breathe, because you need to think rationally of what your response is going to be. It's way too easy to win 40 million, phone everybody and say, I'll give each of you $1 million. And then 2 days later, you're saying, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can also imagine if somebody was to shout something really inappropriate in a crowd, that would be a shock, right? That would be.
Well, what sort of thing?
I don't know. I can't imagine what somebody might say, but I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
And it would be very weird. All right. So what would be a solution to these PGO spikes that are caused from shock, novelty, or surprise that people need to be aware of?
Well, again, recognize it's happening. So when any kind of shock happens, when any kind of huge surprise happens, even really good news surprises you half to death, recognize you're not in your full faculties at that point. You're not at the peak of your understanding of the situation. You need time to calm down and think. We basically say don't make any critical decisions at that time.
Right. And we say slow down, take a moment to breathe and collect your faculties again. Gee, we're starting to notice a pattern here.
I think we are.
Taking a moment to be
Right.
aware of what's going on. All right, let's shift to another area that can cause a bypassing of the critical faculty, and that is...
Yeah, fascinating stories and metaphors. When you listen to a story that is really interesting and it resonates with your emotions, you're now emotionally aroused again, and it is similar to what we talked about earlier. So even a story that engages you powerfully can have an effect hypnotically by bypassing the critical faculty.
Do you know what that makes me think of right now?
Movies?
When I was a kid, I went with my two best friends to go see The Karate Kid. And when we were leaving the theater, we all thought we were karate ninjas.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I can't remember how old I was, but it was very little. And yeah, I mean, I just thought me and Alex and Michael, we all thought we were just karate rock stars in the parking lot. And it made no sense whatsoever, but that was clearly a movie having an
Right, and then you go to a bar and pick a fight and find out it was only a movie. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the solution to this, again,
Well,
is...
be aware the story can trigger emotions, and emotions are a gateway that can bypass the dormant again.
It's amazing how powerful simple awareness can be by knowing about this and then constantly reminding yourself, oh, this is happening. That's why I'm responding this way. That'll really help you. It'll help you in relationships, in business situations, in everyday conversations.
And what about advertising?
And of course, yeah, to avoid being manipulated and controlled by advertising. So yeah, we did write a note here that there's a side point. Advertising is designed to trigger emotions, right?
Yeah, so when your favorite celebrity does a commercial, you are far more vulnerable to buy the product. Many years ago, Michael Jackson did a Pepsi commercial, which was hugely famous and popular, even though he didn't drink Pepsi. But associating him with the product was immensely powerful. He got paid a lot for that.
Isn't that the commercial where his hair caught on fire
It is.
during filming? Yeah, that was quite a famous incident way back in the day. But
Right.
yeah, like just because an actor is playing a role,
It doesn't mean his hair can't catch on fire.
it doesn't mean that it's a legit situation, but it does play into the brain's desire to see an authority or prestigious figure and believe that what is happening is actually true, and that will bypass the critical faculty.
And all the good feelings we have tied to that particular person now become tied to the product.
And it works even if you know that this person is an actor. That's how crazy strong it is, right? The fact that the person is wearing a white lab coat and a stethoscope, you know it's an actor, but you go, well, the doctor said this, and your brain gets tricked into believing it. So you want to, again, be aware of these
That's the old line, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on television doing an ad.
That's right.
But that's the thing. Yeah, prestige will bypass the critical faculty.
All right, we're going to wrap up this video with some suggestions to strengthen your critical faculty. And specifically, we're going to give you a suggestion on how to do this with self-hypnosis. I probably lied saying suggestions. It's really just one suggestion.
Okay.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah, if you're good at self-hypnosis, and if not, it's easy to learn. Go into trance and imagine your critical faculty as a doorman, how he presents himself or herself in front of you. And then, does that look adequate to the task? If he looks like a scary biker, he might be a really good doorman and a strong critical faculty presented metaphorically. If he's a tiny little wimpy guy who's sitting down not paying attention to the door,
Send him off to the gym for a
Send him
bit,
off
yeah.
to the gym. Yeah, change it. By changing the portrayal of this part of your personality, the metaphor will change the actual critical faculty as well.
Right. Now, you were also telling me when we were planning this video, you could have the hypnotic subject, which is yourself in this case, imagine having a conversation with that doorman, right? And asking him to do things like sharpen his focus.
Sure.
And become more aware of certain situations. Almost like offering the doorman better training on what you're looking
negotiating
for.
with him, giving
Right.
him training. I mean, that's fantastic. And as crazy as it sounds, it really will work.
So you can change the knowledge base, you can change the appearance of this doorman, and it really quite beautifully works. We do have a course called Easy Self-Hypnosis.
We do.
It's an included course with our Personal Development Academy and the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. But with that said, let's wrap up this video. We'll simply say this, that if you like stuff like this, you're going to love our training, the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. It's absolutely free to get started. Go ahead and click the link in the description under this video. While you're there, you may as well click the subscribe button and then ring that bell on YouTube so that you're always going to be notified of our stuff. I am Chris Thompson.
I'm Mike Mandel.
We run Mike Mandel Hypnosis, and we hope you love this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks once again.
And good night.
And action.
In this video, we want to talk about how you can strengthen...
The ball's in the bag.
Sorry.